Francisco, the notification pop-up for your stream gets shortened to Retro Rewind Pod Cult.
Well, we've been meaning to have this intervention, Francisco.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's the greatest today. Welcome to the cult, as John says. John's not even here to enjoy it.
Right?
Which is sad, actually.
Greetings and salutations to you, Aristotle. Tonight, Dallas is going to kick us off what we're doing tonight once he gets all settled. He's just coming over from Geek Devotion stream. So we're going to let him get all settled and get his mind ready. The screen jumpers? Sure. Not the screen junkies, the screen jumpers.
Is that another show?
The Screen Junkies? It's a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. All right, let me open my Discord again.
Okay.
So I can have things in front of us. All right, are we ready to play games?
What? We're playing games?
Yeah, play games.
Sure.
With my emotions.
What are we playing?
With your emotions. We're gonna just about to go over the topics tonight.
Are we playing an Oi Roy? See, it's nice. It rhymes.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to Culture Box, unpacking truth through story, comedy, and geekery. My name is Dallas, and ladies and gentlemen, this is our Culture Box conversations, which we have once a month here on the vast wilderness of the interwebs. And joining me today is a fine crew of individuals who I love dearly. They're comical, they're storytellers, and they are raging mad at times. Ladies and gentlemen, figure out which one it is. First guest is Mr. Francisco Ruiz.
The calm one. Always
sure
cool as a cucumber. Hello, I'm Francisco Ruiz from the Retro Rewind podcast. You can check out all our reviews of movies and games from 15 or more years ago at retrorewindpodcast.com. But I am not alone with Dallas. We have one more rageaholic. We gotta be calm, guys, tonight, because Drew of the Cellcast is here. Hey, Drew.
Dude, my blood pressure.
Whoa! Hey!
Just
take some breaths, Drew. Just take some breaths. It'll be okay.
Do you really want to see the dark side?
Somebody call Gadget. Drew, what do you do? Anything related to Inspector Gadget?
I'm from the Cellcast, where we review animated movies and television shows.
Like Inspector Gadget.
Exactly. We haven't done Inspector Gadget yet, which, considering the only movies I know of are awful.
Isn't it with
they should
Matthew
belong on the
Broderick
bottom shelf?
And the guy from
Matthew
Third
Broderick.
Rock from the Sun, I think, was in the second one.
I think so.
It's
Something
the guy
French?
who says that's a lot of fish.
Yeah, no, I know he's in the first one, but in the second Inspector Gadget movie, I think it's the guy that squints from Third Rock from the Sun, French something.
Is it?
French Stewart?
I don't know. I didn't
think
pay
it's French
attention
Stewart.
to the second movie
French
because the
dip.
first one
I
was
have
bad.
that in my fridge.
You have
It is the guy that squints from Third Rock from the Sun.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
French Stewart.
Yes, see? Ashley to the side and Dale here in chat confirmed that I was right. So
Well, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Francisco, are you raging?
no, I'm fine. Dallas, why don't you share what we're doing tonight?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are we're having some interesting conversations today in the Culture Box. We're going to be talking about Mario. We're going to be talking about AI taking over the world. And we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, Mobile Suit Gundam.
Ooh.
It's going to be a good time. But first, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump over to Mr. Francisco, who's going to give us... No, not Francisco. Not at all.
Hey.
I'm reading the chat wrong. We're going to Drew first. Don't rage out, Roy.
Nope. Yeah, not yet.
I wrote
we'll give you
the
time
plan for a reason.
I was reading it wrong.
backwards, apparently.
I went to the intro.
I have vertical dyslexia.
Verticalexia.
For Alexia?
Maybe? I don't
If you
know.
have problems for Alexia, there may be a settlement for you. No.
Verticalexia treatments will give you feelings of verticalexianess.
Call Morris Bart.
And if they won't pay you money, call JG Wentworth. 877 cash now.
And Nintendo. What's that Cellcast?
Yeah, what is this, Drew? Why are we talking about this?
The thing's not working for. There it goes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So it's in the end of an era because the voice of Mario is stepping down from the role. In fact, the very next Mario game that's coming out in October, I think, Super Mario Wonder, will not be featuring the voice of Charles Martinet, who has voiced not only Mario, but Luigi and Wario and Waluigi since 1993.
Good golly, for real.
It says 91 here, but
91. I'm sorry, I looked at it wrong.
Is number Lexia?
Yeah, that too. It's called looking at pictures of Charles instead of looking at his IMDb. Yeah, Mario Teaches Typing was the first time he voiced Mario, and he's been. But most people were probably didn't know anyone was voicing Mario till Super Mario 64. But yeah, it's the end of an era. We're losing Charles Martinet, and if it wasn't bad enough, Chris Pratt took his part in the movie.
Well, you still heard him in that one in playing the arcade game. That was something.
He actually had 2 voice roles in the movie. One was the arcade game where he was literally playing Jumpman, and the other one he was playing Mario's dad.
Oh, really? I don't think I knew that. Cool.
Yeah, which that proves how good a voice actor he actually was, that he can play 2 different characters and you not realize they're the same one right next to each other. But yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, he's been doing this for over 20 years or over 30 years now, if that's crazy enough as it is.
That's pretty impressive.
What do y'all think about him hanging up as the overalls?
I think it's interesting when you see voice actors retire, period, because it leaves a void, and that they have to go, do we find somebody else who does it exactly the same, or do we change it? Like the voice of Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
The voice actors for that character passed away recently, this past week also.
But the thing is, they replaced her like back at Batman Arkham City with Tara Strong.
I mean, ages ago. And she does a fantastic job. But it's just interesting, like, this man gave a voice that we will always remember. It's not like a movie where a live action person where we're like, okay, this is the person I think of. Like when I go Batman, I go Michael Keaton. There are some people, like I know Dale, when he thinks Batman, he thinks of Adam West. And I'm sure everyone else, but when there's a voice actor involved, we're like, no, this is the voice. You can't just change an animated character's voice. So it's sad.
Yeah.
Because this guy's voice will always be in our heads, and from this point forward, they're gonna have to find somebody that can make that voice happen.
And that voice actress was Arlene Sorkin.
Arlene Sorkin, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember when back with Aladdin, I loved Robin Williams as the voice of Genie, and when we got Return of Jafar, which I was like, oh, cool, another Aladdin movie. This is a time where I thought Disney was actually good. I thought, oh, cool, another Aladdin movie. And then I hear Genie. I'm like, that's not Genie's voice. Who is this? Homer Simpson. What are you doing as Genie?
He's voiced Genie more than
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams did, because Robin Williams actually got mad at Disney because he said, I'll only do this if you, as long as you don't use Genie to sell toys to kids or whatever. And Disney reneged on that deal. And that's why Robin Williams pretty much, I wouldn't say he never worked for him again, because Flubber was after this and he was in that.
That might have been a contract deal, though.
Maybe, but once any contracts he had was gone, he didn't work for him ever again.
Right?
Yeah, and so it is hard for me. I know when you don't have the same consistency of voices. I understand. I mean, no one can do something like that forever. It's always, there's going to be there's going to have to be changes. But it is sad when that type of thing happens. I actually thought, I guess I had no idea that was a different voice from the original cartoon. I figured they had just taken that voice actor and carried it over to him over the games.
No, that was not Captain Lou Albano playing Mario in Super Mario 64.
Well, so wait, was the actor the voice of the cartoon character also?
Yeah. In the Super Mario Brothers Super Show?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if he was doing that in the Super Mario Brothers 3 show or Super Mario World, but he was Captain Lou Albano in Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Interesting.
know that.
Interesting.
So
Now in the chat, Dale's saying that for him, the iconic voice actor he thinks of for Batman was Olin Soul, who did the Super Friends show,
oh, okay.
Batman.
Oh, wow.
But he also was in Battlestar Galactica. But Ash puts out a great statement. She says, voice actors become iconic in their own right," and that's true. They really do.
Absolutely.
Well, one that I'm very familiar with right now because we're reviewing this show on Cellcast. Cal Dodd as Wolverine is just like the voice for Wolverine.
Is that
the fact that it sounds like Hugh Jackman is copying him?
Is that the guy that says
Right.
like Berserker Claw, Bub? That guy
I don't know if he ever
from the
said
'90s
that.
cartoon.
Yeah.
Is that who you're talking
It's
about?
better than. Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know what you're quoting.
Berserker Claw from
I know
Marvel
what
vs.
you're
Capcom 2, where I'm pretty sure he's the voice actor because all those voices sound like the cartoon. So
Okay.
yeah,
I
you
have
check
not
it, Drew,
played
and
Marvel
you
vs.
tell me,
Capcom 2.
you tell Francisco that he's right on the money. Once again,
you raging,
2 for
Francisco?
2. Here we go.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes, looking for Wolverine.
Yes.
I'll say this: his voice is a lot better than the guy that did the Wolverine from
Evolution.
the 80s.
Oh, from
When it-
and yes, you are right once again because this is the second time. But yeah, that is Cal Dodd playing Wolverine.
Okay.
right.
See,
But
Nice.
that's your second time being right for the day.
one more time, and it's a dynasty.
Sure, sure it is.
So what's interesting though, we were talking about like Arlene. Well, geez, I already forgot her name. Arlene Sorkin. She died, even though they had replaced her. Replaced her. They'd also replaced Kevin Conroy as Batman. But
Sorkin.
Sorkin. What did I say? Whatever. Whatever her name is. That was Harley Quinn. But with Christopher Charles, whatever his name is, dang it.
Christopher Charles.
Charles Martinet. Is that how? Martinet.
Charles Martinet.
Charles Martinet. He just decided to retire. Let's
yeah,
get a
but
little
that's his
conspiratorial. Do you think he was forced to retire? Because now he's an ambassador. Why would he all of a sudden? Because he had claimed he was going to play Mario until he died. So why do you think?
I don't know, unless maybe they were wanting something in, I'm assuming Super Mario Wonder that he couldn't do, but I'm guessing here. I don't know. And maybe it's like, well, we can't fire him. He's Mario.
Yeah.
He's the worldwide voice of Mario. He's the outside of the cartoons from the 90s. He's been the only voice of Mario until the newest movie. So, I mean, Japan has respect for the guy. So they couldn't just fire him. I'm guessing they just gave him like, okay, here's an honorary position so that you can still draw some money off of this.
At best, it's a
And
hey,
do PR.
I realize I'm old and I need to take it easy. At worst, something's happened. You know,
I hope not.
as you age, your voice changes.
Yeah,
It's hard
and
to
if
do.
you think about it, Mario's voice is extremely high pitched. I don't know.
Very high.
Having heard his normal voice, I'm actually surprised he can do the Mario voice.
Oh wow.
It is.
Okay.
It looks like it would be very hard for him. And as he's gotten older,
He's pretty much doing a falsetto each time he does it. I imagine. Yeah.
well, he's kind of talking like this, but this is nowhere near Mario.
Hot dog.
This is really close to my Mickey Mouse.
What?
Yeah, mine too.
I'm not gonna try.
Okay. Don't be part of the Mickey Mouse Club.
When you
Tell us.
sing in the choir and he starts giving you those notes that are in the treble clef, you start getting good with your falsetto voice. I'm just saying.
Yeah, me too.
Shut
Anyway.
up, boy.
So,
Drugs are bad.
okay, so that makes a lot more sense, though. That he's just like, you know what, this is so taxing on my voice. I need.
And
to
that's kind of
be
what
done.
I'm assuming is actually happening. Is like he wants to voice Mario to the day he dies. I'm sure he still feels that way.
Yeah,
but it just may not be possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot who it was, but recently I saw a voice actor and who voiced something from my childhood, and I realized that they can no longer do the voice appropriately anymore. They've aged again. Our vocal cords they age, and when you do a lot of work, I mean, you strain them out. Celeste was talking with Dallas Reed, who plays, he voices Asta in Black Clover and several other things. And Asta has a tendency to just yell his guts out. And she asked him, she's like, hey, how do you do this without just wrecking your vocal cords? She says, well, I wreck my vocal cords and I let them heal for a week and I come back the next week. And it's just like that's what the part takes. But I mean,
yeah, but that's
it does
permanently
damage
damage your vocal cords after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But then, of course, the thought occurs to me, Who Framed Roger Rabbit had so many of those classic voice actors, for not just from Disney but from Warner Brothers, come back to and now Francisco's got the pink screen of death.
Sorry.
And they were all wanting to come back, and that included so many classic actors, like the voice of Betty Boop of all people. June Foray, which June Foray actually has more acting credits than
Chuck Jones.
Not
Mel Blanc.
Chuck Jones. Mel Blanc.
Michael
Why
Jordan.
can I never remember Mel Blanc's name?
Oh, I think,
I don't know.
is this a 3 for 3 now? Mel Blanc.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. I won't push it.
Smug Cisco.
Yes, Smug Cisco is in the house. Strangely enough, though, even when he's smug, he gets as red as a tomato.
That's just his microphone.
Anyway, I was gonna say just one more anecdote about that. Andy Serkis, I know, famously during playing the voice of Gollum in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, he had had a special mixture of like honey lemon water and something that he had to drink like every time after he would do the voice because it was just wrecking his voice.
Yeah,
But,
that's a rough
Yeah.
voice that he did for that too.
But just a couple other anecdotes I'm aware of for Jetsons the movie, which came out in '89, I think, or '90.
Could be.
That's the last acting credits for both Mel Blanc as Mr. Spacely and the guy who played George Jetson, who has a name I don't have in front of me at the moment. George Jetson recorded his last lines from his hospital bed before he died, and Mel Blanc died in the recording booth. Those are guys who took it like I'm sure that's as far as Charles Martinet wanted to do it. Was
George O'Hanlon?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's not a name I recognize normally because I don't recognize it from anything else.
Yeah.
So I still think it was it's George Jetson. But still, that's
awesome.
Nuts.
Well, the end of an era for Charles Martinet. Martinet. Chuck Jones.
John Williams.
Exactly.
Hey, by the way, side conversation from previously in the night, the movie that Drew suggested that he loved, it was an animated movie with voice actors. That's a segue.
Is this Summer Wars?
Summer Wars
yes.
is on Amazon Prime.
It was not on Amazon Prime earlier.
Apparently, it's on it now.
Well, go
according to our
watch
friend
it.
Valenindro. All right.
Highly.
But are the voice actors still doing it? Are the voice actors still active in it?
Fun fact, that uses pretty much all of Funimation's actors from that era.
Wow.
I mean, you got Chris Sabat, you got Colin Clinkenbeard, who does Monkey D. Luffy on One Piece to this day. You got.
Is this it?
Yeah, that's it. It's a great film. That's the one I want to force you to review next time because it's just about to become retro for your show.
Oh yeah, 2010. Nice.
Interesting.
That will be coming out soon on the Cellcast podcast. Our re-review of it.
$46.
Oh yeah, that's the reason why. It's because because it's out of print. That's the expensive copy.
Francisco, welcome to the
Video
world
is
of
currently
anime and being a
unavailable to watch
weeb.
in your location. See, I thought there was a reason why we.
Oh,
They're probably need a VPN or something.
Try NordVPN. No. This broadcast.
No,
not
I think
sponsored.
that's one of those things that it's there if you bought it, and that's the only way you can watch it.
Oh, that
but you
makes
can't
sense.
buy it
Yeah.
again.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that whoever has the rights to that, whether it's Sony, who now owns Funimation, or
I thought
Warner
Crunchyroll
Brothers, who
bought
technically owns the
Funimation.
Japanese distribution rights, or whomever. Get that thing back out there. It needs to be watched by everybody.
Right.
Listen to Drew. What else should we listen to Drew about? Maybe a segue?
Yeah, what's the segue to whatever you're talking about? Roy? You're talking about being mad at AI. That's what it was. So yeah, there's the thing. There's an AI in Summer Wars that's trying to take over all of this Ready Player One-esque
really?
internet thing, and its name is a pun, but we'll move on. Talk about how mad you are at AI, Francisco.
AI, you say? You know, that makes me think of this other recent trailer for a movie called The Creator. It's amazing. What an amazing tie-in we just had. Okay, good job, Drew. Figuring that out. I mean, it's like we hadn't rehearsed
never
this
cease.
because we hadn't. So I'm just gonna let this play for a bit, so you guys can sort of get a flavor for this. But The Creator is a movie coming out, I believe, in September or early October. I'll say it here at the end. But it looks like it's essentially the age-old question of what is a person? When is something alive? When should it be regarded as having sentience? It seems to tackle this. Apparently, AI robots are trying to wipe out humanity. Humanity's trying to survive. Humanity learns this general saying that the AI has created this super weapon, and it turns out to be this kid for some reason. That's, I guess, growing and also is a robot. I'll jump ahead. This is the kid. I think it's a girl. They imply that. I mean, it's a robot, so is it a girl? Is it not? I found it interesting. That's by the director of Rogue One, which was Gareth Edwards. Gareth Edwards. Gareth Edwards. Which
also
I
did
like.
2014 Godzilla.
Oh, really? He did that? Okay, so I like his sort of overall style of based on those two movies. So I'm very curious to see this one. There is a moment here during this part. I'm just going to play it real quick with sound. Well, no, you won't be able to hear the sound, but I'll read what they're saying. This main character, Howell, says, "Did you locate someone else asked him, did he locate the weapon? He says, yeah, it's just a kid." And then transition, the kid says, "Are you going to heaven?" And this guy says, "No, you got to be a good person to go to heaven." And then the kid says, "Then we're the same. We can't go to heaven because you're not good. And and I'm not a person." So we'll
is that
come
Idris
back.
Elba?
No, that's not Idris Elba. I'm not sure who that is. Does it say here in the description?
I'm just curious.
It does about.
Oh, look, it's a Disney film.
I know, right?
Got John David Washington.
Okay.
Okay, so I feel horrible now. Oh, look, it's pink again.
Well, he was the guy in Tenet.
Oh, this guy.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I haven't seen Tenet, so I don't know.
Oh, it was a fun movie.
But
I actually enjoyed Tenet more than Oppenheimer.
I assume. Hey, Paul.
Really?
I assume you guys watched this. What were your impressions of this trailer? As I try to find out. Nice.
So I saw this trailer months.
Oh, really?
ago,
Okay, I had just seen it.
and Celeste and I had actually. This was the catalyst for our thoughts on our October theme for Geek Devotions. We were originally talking about doing this AI type of thing. We adjusted now. We're doing something different, which you can find out if you're one of our devoted Patreon geeks. And listen to the devoted Patreon geek podcast that we have for you.
If I ever catch up, I will. I'm back in March.
I got you. We don't do a lot of podcasts for our patrons though. So
It'll be
anyways,
really fun when I get to April and I get to all the Culture Box audio files.
But anyways, so we it looked interesting to us. We found it fascinating. There's a lot of interesting dialogue that can be taking place there as to what is life, when does life begin, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, this is dealing with the world of AI, which is part of that whole conversation of how far at what point does the human intelligence end and the human soul begin type of conversation. So I'm intrigued by it.
So Pinocchio.
So robots might replace humans, But we neglected to answer a question from our previous spot. Dale asked, who would you guys like to see replace Martinier? So
I don't have a pick for Charles Martinez replacement because I don't know who would be good for it.
okay, Dallas, do you have anyone in mind?
I don't have him in mind. It needs to be somebody that can perform his voice. Like I said earlier,
It needs to
when
be
you have
similar.
an animated voice, that becomes so iconic like that. Batman's voice became iconic in the 90s with Batman animated series with Kevin Conroy. And every person who's played Batman since, while they've done their own take, there has been a level that's like, this is kind of Conroy-ish. So whoever does it needs to come in. They need to go from, it's me, Mario, to like, hey, I'm Mario, what do you want? Like, we don't need to do
We
that.
don't need Danny DeVito. Let him voice Detective Pikachu.
Or let's go full 180. That's funny. And do Arnold Schwarzenegger as, it's a me, Mario. Get to the chopper now, Luigi. Bowser's coming
Get
for
down,
us.
Luigi. Where's the princess? Where is she now?
I will take you out, Lord Bowser Koopa.
I think
not a
Sean
good argument.
Schemmel, who voices Goku, could probably do a good Mario. He has that upper
He
range. I feel
probably could, but because he actually has a very wide range. But I'm afraid that in order to do that, he'd have to use his falsetto, and then it might be too close to his Goku.
All right, that's fair.
I don't know.
To be fair, his Goku is a lot better than the Japanese Goku. If he did the original
Yes,
Japanese,
but the
try to
Japanese
match
Goku,
that, he would have used his
the
falsetto.
Japanese Goku has been doing it since the show first started back in original
I
Dragon Ball.
know.
Because they do not like changing voice actors in Japan at all.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate her.
Yeah.
More power to her.
But she's still
But it's
voicing
just-
Goku as if he's a 12-year-old.
Yeah, which doesn't make any
It's
sense.
just awkward.
Okay, but back to
Or she's doing that with Gohan and with all the other members of Goku's family. But
the creator, not the creator of Dragon Ball Z,
Akira Toriyama.
Akira Toriyama, but the creator of the movie. Drew, what did you think of this film?
I'll be honest, I didn't get a chance to watch the trailer.
Dun dun dun.
But
The gasp.
if we're talking about like AI and stuff like that, I mean, I grew up watching Star Trek, and there's a very early episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation called "The Measure of a Man," which is dealing with this same thing, dealing with whether or not Data should have the rights of any other member of Starfleet, or if he's just a piece of Starfleet-owned
Property.
technology.
Yeah.
So in a sense, I've had this in my head for like years, thinking about whether or not, AI, what is the line between AI being real and not? And
Right.
honestly, I don't have a good answer.
What?
I mean, the
We
best
need-
answer I can give as a Christian is that it has to actually have a soul, which only God can give it.
Okay.
Right.
So I don't know what that looks like for something to have, say, the intelligence of a human being, but not the soul of a human being. What that actually would look like,
So
if
how'd
it
you
even
de-
would be able to reason like a human being would.
So here's a question for you. How'd you define soul, Drew?
This isn't spiritual speculation.
This is the
No, soul is basically who we actually are. That's piloting our body, basically.
okay.
In a sense, that's probably not a good way to explain it. I'm trying to be concise,
Yeah.
but
It's a soul is generally the entirety of the
Yeah.
being, the person. So it's the mind, the body, and the spirit all as one. That creates the soul.
I'd say I would agree mostly with that. I would not say the spirit. I'd say the mind, body, and heart and strength of a person. Spirit is what God gives us to animate us, to give us life. He breathes into the dust, and then we become alive. And when we die, the breath goes away. So that's spirit is a little different. That's almost
the
like
only
the
reason
fuel.
I'm going to push back at all. against both of
Push
y'alls-
back, eh? Okay,
The only
let's
reason
go.
I'm pushing back at all is because every time it's listed in the Bible, it's mind, body, and soul. So it does make it sound like it's separate.
Let's see.
But
Let's
anyway.
check this.
Anyway,
Whoops, sorry. Big screen again. Ah!
that wasn't a pink screen.
I have
What
two
are you
different
looking at?
screens. one for fact checking Dallas, and one for
Good to know we're being fact checked. We'd hate to be giving fake news.
Okay, I mean that's fair. You can,
But at the same time, there's a lot. I'm not a deep theologian anyway, so
Right.
let's see. So yeah,
and I've spent most of my time fighting off a guy who's very reformed.
is that Jacob?
They're
No.
fun.
Oh,
Jacob and me agree on a lot of things, actually.
so who are you
Theologically,
fighting
but
off?
I have a friend here in town who is very much a fan of election,
Okay.
to the point that anytime something even vaguely sounds like election in the Bible, he jumps on it like a cat to a bowl of milk.
Oh wow.
So yeah, my apologies. That's where my focus is. Like, is that true or not? But anyway, moving on. Y'all are looking
Okay,
at stuff, and I'm just sitting here waiting.
So Mark 12:30-31. This is the NIV translation. I imagine lots of translations will sound like this, but we can, if you'd like more translations, we can do it. This is Jesus, I believe, speaking. Someone, I believe this is the part where it asks him, what's the greatest commandment? He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. So how is that different from what I said, Drew?
Y'all made it sound, or at least Dallas at the very least made it sound like it was all of that made up the soul.
Well,
So the way that you translate the word spirit, depending on how you're doing it, it comes out as it can be translated as soul or spirit. There does seem to be a separation of it.
No, there are two different
When you look at
words.
the word
There's two
spirit,
different words.
Like when Jesus says, when Jesus says, what good is it for a man to gain the whole world, but he loses his soul? The word soul there is used. It's
psyche.
suk,
It should be psyche.
psyche.
That's how soul is translated, and pneuma is translated as spirit in the Greek.
Right, and so, but there, that word right there breaks down that there's a multiplicity of things involved with that. It is the mind, there is the body, and there's that conversation about the spirit. And it's my understanding that in the Old Testament, the understanding of the soul was the combination of those three things specifically. But within the Greek itself, which is the New Testament, that's why there's a blending of the words soul and spirit within different conversations. So, like I know the New Revised Standard Version that uses the word spirit.
Oh, does it in the same section?
In different sections. So, like I think in 1 Thessalonians 5. Let me pull it up.
Let's see.
So
What's that called? Is that the NRV, New Revised?
NRSV.
NRSV, okay. NRSV, where are thee? I'm looking for you right now, but I don't see you on this place of Bible. I pittered out right there.
So actually, no, I'm sorry. It says spirit and soul in that one, and so it separates those two also.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, so that's where I got that from. So
sorry, I'm not gonna. I don't know why I'm apologizing. I have it. I feel like I have it in me at some point in my quest to either legitimize or
Delegitimize.
Thank you. Delegitimize. I'm open to either. I just haven't had a good sort of resource that says one way or the other. So I feel like I have to take it upon myself to figure this out. But in my quest for legitimizing or delegitimizing soul sleep, I've done some preliminary study on those words and how they're used in the Bible. So that's why I was drawing the distinction like I was. Stop quoting that not movie at me, David Bobke. Okay. Anyway, guys, let's get back to the creator.
Quoted anything?
What?
Oh, that's probably one of your other. That's probably in Reaper. That's why I don't see it.
Restream?
Not in my restream.
Reaper.
Maybe I'm scrolled down too far.
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's the problem. I was all the way at the bottom, which would be the front of it. No wonder that thing's been updating. What is your quest, Francisco?
My quest is to find out from you guys. So you guys, it sounds like the soul is something that only robots can have. Only robots can have. Only humans can have. Only human beings can have. So given that, it sounds like robots. Would there? Okay, let me. Barring the soul part, is there ever a reason to? Can you ever find a reason that robots should be treated as something more than just a toaster? Essentially, I'm going to use like the Battlestar Galactica 2000s metaphor where they just called Cylons toasters. Is there any reason to think of them as more than that? I mean, do you need a soul in your mind, in your guys' minds, to have sentience, or do you not need one? And should you still be granted?
What do you consider sentience?
Are you saying that
Oh.
if you, are you saying that you would not treat a pet with some form of common courtesy and respect, but as much as you might some other human? They don't have sentience.
Okay, all right. That's a great distinction, Drew. I guess let me be more accurate then, or change
As far as I know,
my
they don't have
perspective
souls.
on that. No, I agree with you. They don't. With machines, though, that's something that we take the materials of this world and we put it together into a collection of something that does a job for us, whether that's an automobile, whether that's a robot, whether that's a game console. It does something for us, get with code and material, hardware and software together that we made from the materials God's created in this world. God himself created animals right before he created human beings. So I think animals are a different case. We're still supposed to steward them well. We're still regarded higher than them, but they're not something we make. We don't. We can breed them, but that's not the same in my
I was
mind.
about
at
to
least,
say,
as
tell
making
that to
them.
breeders.
They're not like making the cells multiply or anything like that.
Tell
Whereas-
that to genetic mutant scientists.
Okay,
Mutation
well,
scientist
give me
or
the number for
something.
Dr. Monroe. I'll call him right up. You're not making cells, Dr. Monroe.
Well, I mean, we have actually had cloned animals. That's all I'm really saying.
They're not.
I know it's different than technology.
It's
I get what you're saying. I am mostly trying to give you a hard time.
because there hasn't been enough of that tonight.
I thought that was 9/10 of the point.
What are you saying, Paul? Asked Francisco about like I'm a. Why you gotta bring that into it, Paul?
I think we need
so
context.
Yes, so this is something only Paul or my brothers would appreciate. So, growing up in high school, we had a Cocker Spaniel Australian Shepherd mix, and we named her Leica, and we call her my Leica my pie. Oh, you're so sweet, my Leica my pie. So, Paul's saying because that's a dog, like in terms of like, is it sentient? Should we just treat it like with disregard? All right, so. Moving away to machines, if this kid is just at its core a machine, I'm pointing the wrong way. I'm looking at my screen. If that kid is just a machine, what's the point? Why should we be concerned with it being turned on, turned off? Like, how do you guys feel about that? Is it? I feel like the only reason we care is because it looks like a person.
That is a thing.
You've
I
not
think
cared
that
for a
is-
car when it's messed up on you, or your computer when it's not working right. I don't know. I get emotionally attached. to
frustrating
things,
way.
so-
I've never been like, oh man, I love you, computer. You're so good to me. Oh,
Well, I
what
mean,
could
when
I
it's
do without
nice
you? I'm
and
never
work.
like that.
When it's nice and works.
I'm not like that when it says it works. It's just a thing that does its job. Good. I never give it like accolades.
Just curious, Francisco. What was your first car?
Like the first one I drove.
Yeah,
Like your first car you ever owned? It was like your
Oh.
car.
the first one that was definitely yours.
The one I have now, my Toyota Tacoma.
Okay, so you've not had this experience for me to be able to say
No.
this then. So the reason why I ask is it's interesting. The people, every person I've talked to that have had their first car and they've lost their 1st car, either it be there was an accident, it just finally broke down. When it's finally loaded up on a wrecker and headed off, there's an emotional like, oh man, because we've grown. Like there's memories attached to that,
gained an
to
attachment.
being with that
Oh
vehicle.
well,
I'm
I can.
like that with my F-150 I've got outside.
You know what? And this, like the computer I'm streaming on now, is the first computer I've ever built. And when it does go kaput, I will have an emotional attachment and sadness to that. But if it's
I mean,
just
that's why I still have old Bessie.
Okay, there you go.
The first computer I built, which is still here on the set.
But I wouldn't expect you guys to have that same care about my computer, like have that same attachment. So there's okay. So if the person or people that made this robot child, I could understand them having sadness if it were destroyed, but I don't think there's a moral dilemma with it being destroyed if there's a reason to do so. If it's going to cause humanity harm or other people harm, yeah, go ahead.
With sci-fi stuff like this, the problem usually the creator, if they're even still around, usually doesn't give a flying banana because they've already moved on to their next project. A lot of times, a lot of times the person who cares and wants to make sure the thing is protected is probably like the guy that's going to help this kid, because I guarantee you by the end of this movie he's going to find some way to save this kid. He's not going to sacrifice him for the greater good unless there's some other reason why that has to happen. Because the question always, especially from the world, is how do you know this thing is not a living being? That's the question you even brought up. It's like, when is it sentient? I don't know, other than I assume it has to have a soul to be sentient. And I don't know what you do when it gets so close to, with like this kid or with Data on Star Trek, or for that matter, C-3PO and R2-D2 in Star Wars. Those are legitimate characters from a fiction point of view. You kind of consider them as sentient within that fiction.
Okay, I guess.
What if it ever gets to that point in reality?
Here's where I would sort of this. Well, before I diatribe, Dallas, what do you make of that, or what are your thoughts on that?
It's one of those impossible situations I just can't tell you until we're there.
Yeah.
There is a level of we're gonna care because it looks like us. It looks like, and again in the natural, or in this is an animated film, or I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, this is.
I think this is live action.
Well, I mean, it's live action, but I guarantee that little girl doesn't have a hole in her head. So
she's a robot, and she has a hole in her head.
Yeah.
So, but
there's going to be
what
some
I'm saying
CG
is
in there.
this is designed to look really, really like us.
Yeah.
Like this is a human being. And right now we don't have anything that matches that. And so, but I can tell you that
current
people have
quote unquote AI is that good yet.
It's exactly.
It can fool you for a bit, but
But I mean, if it gets to the point where we have robots that are walking and talking, and they're doing life, and they're processing the same way that you and I process, and it becomes indistinguishable between human interaction and robot interaction. I can tell you that there are right now we have people who are upset about animals that are mistreated and taken apart, and they honestly they're the equivalent of what this movie is saying AI gets to. They're self-producing. Granted, it's through machines and other things. They're sentient in a fashion. They're communicating. They're interacting with the world around them. I don't know what it's going to be like when we get to that point, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's a scary conversation, a scary point that we get to when we have to make that decision.
Yeah, I guess here's what I'm thinking. And I haven't really thought this up. This is sort of coming to me in the conversation, but I'm curious where you guys, how you guys align with this idea. I think you both agree that us being Christians, God created us, and if He decides it's time for us to go, then we don't really have a say in that. That's up to Him. It's His divine providence, and would that be providence?
Yeah.
Divine wisdom. When we leave this earth, when we have run the race, when we have died, and we can't say He's wrong or right. We can be spiteful or groan about it, but would you guys agree that it's His wisdom to decide when that happens for us, or do you disagree with that?
I believe in God's
Yeah.
sovereignty, so
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go with that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry. That's like whatever God says is right is probably right.
Okay.
100%. So
All right. So I'm just that's what I believe too. So here's what I'm thinking. If we carry that through, because God gave us creative faculties, I guess whoever made this robot that emulates a girl, if they chose to destroy it, then that's their prerogative to do that. If they're like, you've done the job I created you for, or there's no more need for you to be around, that's their decision to make. I don't think it necessarily makes sense for other people to destroy this girl, or be just like it doesn't make sense for we're not supposed to murder each other, because that's God's sovereignty to figure out when we die. So what do you guys make of that? Do you think that would be a reasonable morality to go with robots that look like people? Is this thing on?
Say that again. I'm trying to think through what you're saying,
Okay.
Francisco. Say it again.
Okay. So, where do you need me to start from the very beginning?
All the way from the
Welcome to Culture Box Conversations.
hang on.
Oh,
let me
we're
switch
doing
over.
that show today.
Let me switch back to Charles Martinet.
Have I rated you yet? No, we're on Geek
Oh,
Devotions
yeah, we're
tonight.
gonna play
That's
some
what
Okay,
more
so we're getting
DBZ.
ready to play Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
Right.
Sorry, I said that wrong. Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
That's correct.
Okay, let me make sure that we're not missing anything in chat. Then I'll give it again to you, Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
because
Kirk
Kirk
says,
from the
"Switch
Rushmore
over
show
here."
already thinks we haven't seen his stuff. So
Because I think, oh no, I was seeing it. I'm sorry, Kirk. I'm just like, I'm usually with these, we're a little bit more invested in the conversation. I will try to read as it goes, but I'm not always the best. Dale says, I remember in the 90s animated Superman series, John Corbin, aka Metallo, tries to kiss Lois Lane. Though he did it, he could longer feel it. Corbin lost that loving feeling along with all.
he lost that love and feeling. Whoa, that love and feeling.
He lost that love and feeling. Now it's gone. Whoa. I don't. What, Dallas? Are you not entertained? It's Righteous Brothers over here. Anyway, okay, so this is what I was trying to say, Dallas. God created us. He has the sovereignty to determine if we should die or not. That's
Word.
And if other people murder us, then that goes against his sovereignty. I think he can still use that evil for good, as he does in all cases. But ideally, none of us kill each other, and none of us commit suicide. We trust him to take us when it's his time for us to be taken. So I'm equating that to, we are ourselves able to create things, not in quite the same way. We can't, as much as breeders want to say they create dogs or cats or whatever, they're not. They're breeding them. That's different. But I think we can make a robot, whether it's a toy or something crazy, specifically like this AI looking girl. So I think whoever made her can determine whether or not she should be destroyed. I say she just because she looks like one. I'm not saying that the robot actually has.
I mean, if you want to get real specific, whoever is her current owner could do that because it can't own itself.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, and
now the unfortunate thing when you start talking like that is it starts sounding like slavery.
Yeah, but I mean, in a very real way, God owns us. I mean, he created us, he owns us. So yeah,
I agree with that. But anyway, I don't have a good answer for you at all, Francisco. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, that's fair.
We could speculate about this from now until God actually comes back. And
all right,
everything.
Let's go for it. I'm ready.
But I don't think we're ever going to come up with a decent answer.
I thought my answer was decent. Dallas, what do you think of my decent answer?
Again, it's one of those speculation things. We're so far removed from what this could really
Sure.
be, and what it is
Mhm.
not. I mean,
Yeah, this thing is
The
definitely
moment-
so far into the realm of science fiction, it's hard to really quantify as how usable it would be, like the ethics of time travel.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
So
I feel like, for me, I feel like this is a lot closer than time travel, but that's
well,
me.
yes, it's a little bit closer, but it's the same kind of thing. It's so far in the future that the science fictionness of it is almost more fantasy than anything else.
Oh, okay.
That's what
Okay.
I'm trying to say.
Arthur C. Clarke. Aristotle in chat says, if the image of God is the ability to hold and use the logos as defined by Athanasius? Athanasius?
Athenaeus. Anyway,
Well, whatever. And that part of creation.
he's one of the early church
Okay,
fathers.
thank you. And that part of creation which does not use the logos is illogical, rocks, trees, etc. Then as long as a robot can think, it holds the logos and arguably must be redeemed. So if the image of God is the ability to hold and use the logos as defined. So how does Athenaeus define the logos? Because that's a part I'm missing. Because
most of what I know about logos is what we design for companies and podcasts and such.
yeah,
And I know that's not the right use of the word logos.
The way I thought it was, I thought
it was like
logos was like
words.
the word of God. I thought
Yeah.
like Jesus is the
It was a
logos. I thought
living
that's
word.
what that always meant in that context, but I could be wrong. Okay, but that's fair. I think we need to move on to the next topic because we've spent our wheels.
We have somewhat wore this one out.
Yeah. I mean, we've worn it out to the point where you guys agree with my take on it. I appreciate that. So let's go.
Roy.
You know what? What's interesting? We could create robots all we want. Oh, wait. Aristotle says logos is the ability to think and speak, but Athenaeus didn't go much further. Yeah, it sort of depends on what you mean by thinking, because
technically most AI and what most of the people speculating about AI says it won't actually be sentient until it can actually question like the best way to go about things, where it can think creatively, and computers can't think creatively by nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree with that.
Anyway, sorry.
But no,
I've actually been reading a lot about this thing has come up a lot randomly over like the course of the past 5 years in different science fiction I've read. Maybe it's maybe it's just because that's what science fiction authors are focusing on right now. I don't know. But
something I do want to bring up, this is totally a sidebar, but in this trailer, I got right there. This is actually, they used footage of the explosion in Beirut for this trailer. They just augmented it some, like a real life tragedy. I feel like isn't the best thing to put in your trailer. So that was, it had some things digitally added, but that's pretty much real footage. If you go and look at the Corridor crew did a comparison on it, and it's like, whoa, probably the best.
That might be just a touch tasteless.
Yeah. Well put. Yes. And Aristotle, I'm gonna have to think more about that because I tend to
the thing is, I'm not sure where he's getting his. I think his definition of logos compared to what we're looking at. Typically, logos is in reference to the living word. So, like in John 1:1, in the beginning was the word, logos. The word was, and the word logos was with God, and the word logos was God, and that's typically under traditional understanding of the scriptures is that's God Himself and Holy Spirit, and throughout their entirety of the thing. Jesus was the Word of God. He is a logo. So it's not just the ability to speak. There's a level of spirituality that's beyond that.
Okay. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd have to think more about it, but that sounds right, Dallas. Aristotle Augustine said that all men have multiple wills. So if something can wish to do one thing and yet do another, it is expressing the existence of multiple wills, and in my opinion, a true ability to think. Okay, so I don't think animals can really do that, though. I feel like they whatever they will to do, that's what they do. I don't think they can. I don't know if dolphins and other like things and orcas or primates can have that level of, let's say, deception, but I am curious. You know what? If we were talking about creating things from other things and mashing them together, you know what? That really sounds like a Gundam Breaker Battle Log new build graphic novel. That's what that sounds like.
There's a segue.
That segue right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Could I make
So,
it
like
sound more
Francisco says,
stilted? Dallas, why don't you
there's
tell
a
us about
new-
this graphic novel and what's Gundam
Yeah, there's a
Breaker
graphic
Battle
novel being
Log?
kickstarted right now. It's in the Kickstarter process right now, and it's currently, let me update the counter on it, at $37,000 of their $80,000 goal they're trying to reach up right now. And what this is the first ever comic dash manga based on Gundam that was made outside of Japan as a whole. And this is super fascinating to me. This is interesting to me because this is an official thing. This isn't like a fan-made thing. This is official. Now, Gundam Breaker, some of you guys will recognize it from the video game franchise Gundam Breaker, which there was, some people say there was only 3, not 4, because we don't include new Gundam Breaker. And I understand why. As of, I bought it a few months ago, and I'm like, oh, this sucks.
Gosh.
But it's, the controls were wonky as all get out. But it's basically the premise of the game is that you are a student who goes to a Gundam school, and you build Gunpla, which is basically small models. And through some magical technology, you drop it into the machine, you're able to battle using the Gunpla that you custom build outside of the game itself. And this is actually really fascinating. The story itself is being done by Nomu Masuda, who's done quite a bit of work. He worked on the original Gundam. He worked on Gundam 00, F91, Gundam Unicorn OAV, Char's Counterattack, which was freaking amazing. But he's also done other things. He did Agent Akira. He did Clamp, Code Geass, which is a very popular one. And he's done a lot. Silent Mobius. He did that. I forgot about those altogether. But he's the writer, and then the art's being done by a guy named Daniel Nielsen. Now, I genuinely didn't know a lot of his work. I looked into it. He did Pacific Rim Blackout, which I loved Pacific Rim. His art looks pretty interesting. He did a lot of Judge Dredd, which is a really... I enjoy Judge Dredd comics, and looking at the way he did the art, it's pretty solid stuff that he seems to have been done. Now, what's interesting about this is that this is being done by Legendary Comics. They're the ones kickstarting this. And those of you who are listening may go, Legendary Comics, who are they? Well, they're related to Legendary Films, which did Godzilla recently.
I mean, the chances of that actually being connected to MonsterVerse are extremely slim, but...
They are.
I mean, Pacific Rim has a better chance of being in it than Gundam does.
Absolutely.
But still, the idea that you could have Gundams fighting Godzilla has me intrigued.
No, and that's the thing about Gunpla is that it's everything that you build what you want, and it becomes real in the game itself. And so, so I played New Gundam Breaker, and again, terrible game. Just mechanics, but it was cool because you had just an insane amount of customability that you could do with the Gunpla that was in the game. You could, if you could find the parts, you can attach. Like on the screen right now, you appear to have a that's not a Zaku, but a goof.
I'm trying to look up what Gunpla actually looks like.
Here, let me show you one.
Well,
if
they're little
it will
models.
actually stay, let me turn that thing off.
Well, I found some.
I'm just saying I have one.
Oh, well, fine,
See?
Drew. Here we go.
Burning Gundam. At least that's what I go by the English name, not the original Japanese name.
Right.
Because God
and these
Gundam
things
is
get
ridiculous.
insane.
And does it articulate? Like you can move around or just pose it? Or
yeah, I can't really do it with one hand right now, but if I do it too much, the backpack will fall out. But
not the
it's a pain in the
backpack.
butt to put it back in. But yeah.
So, and these Gunpla, if you guys get into Gunpla, it gets insane. Like I stand in awe of what some of these creators have done with Gunpla as a whole. I was trying to pull up the Gunpla World Series, see if they have some images that we can share that are just insane.
It's called Gunpla World Series.
Yeah, Gunpla World Series.
People who probably get paid to do this.
I mean, they win stuff. And so, I mean, the amount of detail that go into Gunpla. Again, this Gunpla itself should be a simple snap together plastic model.
And it is for the most
no
part.
glue. Right. But then what takes place is people get into it and man, they do custom paint jobs, they create battle damage, they create these beautiful dioramas. They start bashing kits together. We're like, okay, here is a wing 0, but we're going to take the wing set from Epion and then, or maybe the Strike Freedom, and then we're going to attach the base of this here. And they build amazing bits of art that range from silly to just what the crap is happening. Like, it's really intense. And so, but in this series, and in this comic that's continuing off the series stuff, that's what's happening. You have people who are being creative to build something, and then it's becoming alive in the game itself. And so, like I said, in this image that you see on the screen right here, this appears to be a form of what I would probably say the Wing Zero from Gundam Wing, and a Goof from the original Gundam series, which was part of the Zeon forces, fighting off. And it's an interesting idea of building a new world within a world itself that takes place here. The whole idea of this is an existing franchise, but we're building a world around it at the same time within it.
It makes me think of how you have Mega Man, and then Mega Man Battle Network is a game where it's, I guess, kind of similar to Pokemon, where I think you're building a Mega Man
concept.
What was that?
It was based on that concept.
Okay, yeah. You're building like a Mega Man character or collecting parts to make it better, and then you play with it in the virtual space. But then I never played it, so I'm pretty sure that's the thrust of that story, though. So it seems similar to that. Would you say that's kind of like that, Dallas?
Kind of like that. I mean, again, it's a matter of yeah, I mean, it's real similar to that.
Okay.
I don't know how else to say that. So again, the whole idea behind Gundam Breaker, and you see it, there's other anime series that are out there. There was one called Gundam Build Divers.
I've watched some of that. That's a good show.
They're fun shows, and what I love about those shows specifically is you see these people's imagination come alive as they take stuff that they love. If you are a Gundam fan, then there's a lot of love for the franchise as a whole. If you get into the chat rooms, they will argue back and forth about whether or not Iron Blood Orphans is a good series, or if it's just trash and everyone just needs to watch Gundam Seed forever. I mean, they're passionate about it. And then when they jump over into the Gunpla mode, it's something that they're building something that they've connected memories to. They've built a life around because there's an attachment to it. And that's the thing about anime, is it inspires people in a lot of ways. And in Gundam, depending on which Gundam series, it hits you different. And then to go, hey, here's this thing you're passionate about. What if you can make it come alive?
Yeah.
And create whole new worlds with it. And that's what takes place in these Gundam series, or these Gundam Breaker and Gundam Build series. And I'm excited to find out what the story is for Gundam Breaker. Again, I'm looking at the guy who's done the story, and he's done some phenomenal storytelling. We're not going to talk about G Savior. We'll ignore that he did that ever, but he did some amazing things. He did Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, which was
That's a good show.
A fantastic show. Great storytelling, great progression of everything. He did the Gundam Build Divers TV series, a couple versions of it. He did Gundam 00, which a lot of people were like, man, that was a big show, Gundam 00. It dealt with they pulled in some what's the word I'm looking for? real life things that were taking place in the world into that show to have an underbed of conversation about taking care of the environment, but also what happens when you become an environment wacko shop. Um, he was given the unbelievable project of turning what should have been a series into a singular movie with Gundam F91. And while it had its issues, he did a great job of trying to tell the story that really, again, he should have allowed it. He should have been allowed to keep it as a series, but it was condensed down into one. So his storytelling is proven to be solid. I'm really intrigued to see what he does with this comic.
Cool
Any
beans.
thoughts?
Are you intrigued by this at all, Drew, being a Gunpla person?
I've been trying to get into Gundam besides the one show I watched as a kid, because I recognize there's more to Gundam than just,
Yeah, Voltron's
My
not
show?
Gundam, Drew. Sorry.
What did you say, Roy?
I was teasing you like you were confusing Voltron for Gundam, saying Voltron's
Yes,
not
I
Gundam.
have a Voltron.
I know you know what Gundam is. I'm just busting your chops over here, Drew.
Got a
Roy.
final Voltron.
No, I have been meaning to get more. I've tried watching Witch from Mercury, and I think, and then while that's a good show, I can't get back into it. I am interested in it, but at the same time,
See, that's what I love about Gundam as a whole is each series has its own flair, its own feel, and there's an entry point for somebody depending on what they're really into. Witch from Mercury was specifically designed to be different from other Gundams, though. They felt like the younger fan base was super like, we're not really feeling Gundam anymore. It's old people stuff. So they built something that they thought that Gen Z and Alphas would like.
and like I said, it's not a bad show. It's just not something I'm able to get back into after I took a break.
And
So-
let's say someone wanted to get into it from the beginning, Dallas. Kirk asks, well, I said hello question as someone who has not really watched Gundam but loved Voltron and Robotech. Where would you say to start, Dallas, in this vast world of Gundam?
Okay, so that's the interesting conversation point right there.
First off, go
you
listen
have
to the Gundam Watch. They answer all those questions over there.
Yes. And
we do.
that General Romeo character, man, where did they get him? Because he is like prolific. He just
I can tell you what not to look for, and that's doozy bots.
Yes. Do not watch.
yeah,
Disney Bots.
don't. Never.
So to answer your question, Kirk,
I will
Doozy Bots
send you
was
a
something
link,
was never supposed to
Francisco.
release to public. Did I tell you, Drew? I found out where that came from.
I know it was. I think what I read is that it was actually original animation based on the Chibi, the SD Gundam stuff. But
It was a pilot. It was a tester that was never supposed to get out. Somebody stole the VHS and put it out there.
it's the only reason we know anything about it.
Exactly. So,
Also, don't look
Kirk
up
says,
the
I have
FMV game
watched
Gundam
Gundam
0079, The War in Space. It's horrible.
oof. So the thing about Gundam is there's different ways of looking at it. You have the ones that are within the main universe, the Universal Century, which begins all the way back with the 1979 Mobile Suit Gundam. But if you don't like old animation, that's going to be rough. Now, the fact that Kirk likes Robotech, he likes Voltron, if he still likes that animation style, he can go back and check out the original Mobile Suit Gundam, which they did break up into 3 movies to make it easier for people to consume. In fact, that's how we got Branson in on the
isn't it like a
conversation.
52 episode show?
48 episode. They actually got canceled towards the end. And fun fact, one of the things that's coming up soon, kind of behind the scenes, there's a lost episode, episode 15, and it's lost on purpose because it's terrible. Basically, they didn't have enough money to do it right. And so the animation's wonky, the storytelling's rushed. They did a movie last year where they took that one episode and they turned it into a full-length movie. And so I'm really intrigued to watch that. We may be watching on the Gundam Watch soon.
Cool.
But so the original Gundam, if you're okay with that old school animation, check that out. I think that'll be good. If you want something a bit more modern animation style, there's some conflict as to whether or not Gundam Wing is actually a good place to jump on. I enjoyed it. There's questions about if we have nostalgia. However, if you listen to Gundam Watch, you see that Branson's pretty locked into it. Branson himself said, if this had been what he started with Gundam when he was younger, he would have been like locked in all the way. He would understand it because there's a lot of interesting aspects to it that catch Branson. That being said, one of the things I love about Branson is that he comes at things with such a level of purity of heart and innocence to things. And so I think it captures a lot of those things for him. Outside of that, if you want something a little bit edgier, you could go with Iron Blooded Orphans, which is a bit rough. It's a bit edgier, but it's out of universe. That's the thing. Gundam Wing, Gundam Witcher Mercury, Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans, they're separate universes, own timeline. You can jump in, watch that, and you'll be done. Don't have to worry about watching anything else around it.
So why is it
true for Dragon Ball Z and Giant Robots, aka Mobile Fighter G Gundam?
if it's not in the same universe, what makes it Gundam then? Just the
they're
giant
Gundam.
robots are the same?
That's the wonderful question we've all been asking.
That's
for
why
30
that's why
years.
Gundam Watch's first question is, what is a Gundam? Because we really don't know.
Oh, okay. I thought they were the robots.
It seems to be a show that's based around one or multiple central robots that are special in some fashion, made out of a system, out of substance that's called Gundam, or there's a database UI that's called Gundam. But there's something special about it, and generally it's piloted by a child of some sort. And by child, I mean like an 18 and under.
Oh wait,
There are series that are interesting though, that are a little bit more adult geared, but they're not raunchy. And one of them, I'm having a hard time finding it right now, that I really want to get, which is Mobile Suit 08 team, Gundam 08 team. And it has this gritty ground fighting. Everyone's an adult for the most part, except for the main character he's aged young, but he's probably an adult. And it's like if you had giant robots in the middle of the Vietnam War.
oh, interesting. I was gonna say, I think I have seen one of these. It's called Neo Gundam Evangelion. I think I saw
Neon
that.
Genesis Evangelion is entirely different.
No, Dallas said young pilots of these big mech things.
I can tell you right now, Francisco, that if you got into Gundam, you'd be like, no.
They are entirely
Evangelion
different.
There is a whole level of psychological abuse that went to Evangelion.
I mean,
I know.
It was
I know.
Hideki Anno, I can't even imagine actually doing a Gundam series.
Here,
But then he did Godzilla, and he did Ultraman, and he did Kamen Rider, so I don't know.
You had mentioned Dallas, like when speaking to Kirk's question about if you still like the old animation and whatnot, then those might be some of the Gundams get into. I have no the concept for this sounds very interesting, but they, in my opinion, they're shooting themselves in the foot when they show clips from what I assume is the anime like this. This looks so beautiful. I'm like, wow, okay, this is what it's gonna look like. And then what? And then what? And then
art
if you scroll down, there's actual panels.
Oh, I guess I
you can
could do
look
that.
at
That
for
would
this
be
stuff.
easier. Well, I wanted to compare it with the actual anime too. So because they go between.
You're
the two.
right, and they're pulling from the actual anime. Which the problem is, you're dealing with anime that's done with CGI systems. This is hand drawn
well
art.
then don't put that in your trailer because you're making me think. Oh wow, wait.
I actually
There's
agree with
this
that.
They're having
huge inconsistency.
totally get that, and I got you with that one totally.
Yeah, because I mean, I think on its own, these would look cool. It's like, oh, okay, this seems like a fair take. It doesn't really look manga-esque, which I'm like,
It's definitely a little bit leans a little more towards the
yes,
American
yeah,
mindset.
absolutely. And I mean, that's fine. I get it. You can have your own take on stuff like that. I'm not against that. But I think you're just you're setting yourself up for a losing battle if you're like, look
Now-
at this cool anime, and now look at what you're
I
actually.
don't know where they're going to go with this. I don't really know what they're doing with the story, but traditionally Gundam Breaker leans more towards a younger audience than the more adult audience also. So that might be explains some of the art style.
Kids don't like looking at cool shiny things. They hate that. They want dull looking things. Yeah, absolutely. Wait a second. No, I know what you mean. Well, you're talking about in terms of story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even like with story, they tend to with art stuff they simplify things. Also, with stuff
I
that's
see
for
what you're
kids.
saying. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you backing this, Dallas?
I'm contemplating it. There's another project I want to back, which is a Christian anime.
Oh, Guardians of Gabriel Guardians.
Yeah.
That Angel Studios one that keeps flooding my Facebook with ads.
Yep. So I'm contemplating backing that. I want to look into it and see what they got. I may back this. I'm not sure what level I could back it at. I might be able to back up the $15 or $40 level, which give you the
But
book.
if you back it at the $1,000 level, you get to appear in the. You could just say it could be you wearing Geek Devotions.
If I was able to back this at the $1,000 level, I could have gotten the funding for my 501c3
Good point.
done a long
Good
time ago.
point.
There's so many things that I want to get right now that I'm not, because I'm like, I have to be responsible because I have things I'm trying to do. Like Armor Core came out, which honestly, Armor Core has been nothing more than let's make Gundam for everyone playing it. Everyone who's a Gundam fan is like going in there and they're rebuilding Gundams into Armor Core, and it makes my heart smile.
That's fun. I haven't played Armor Core at all. Have you played that, Drew?
I'm not a fan of From Software games.
Oh, okay.
They're rough. They're rough games.
Like rough, like they're not very
Dark
playable.
Souls.
Or
They made Dark Souls.
They're just tough games. They're like they've built systems where it's a lot about skill
Gotcha.
and a
And
lot about
I'll be,
what should be easy for you.
I'll be the
Francisco.
first
You
to
should
tell
be
you
able
I don't have skill.
I mean, really.
to- so
I don't play
But-
games to get stressed out at them.
That's fair.
what's funny is a lot of people have forgotten. They get into Armor Core and they're complaining about how hard it is, but they're like, "You guys do know we put an easy mode in here for you, right?" Like they put things in there to make it easier for people to play who don't want the Dark Souls event like what Kirk likes. This is like, this is dumb. This is so hard. And they're like, adjust the settings.
Yeah. Easy mode is
No.
allowed.
No, that's fair. Awesome. Very, very cool. Drew, do you think you're going to back this? I'm probably not going to, but
I'm not going to back it just simply because I'm looking at the art for this and good night. This looks like 90s Power Rangers art to some degree. That's just the first thing that comes to my mind when I look at it. That's probably not even a fair comparison.
I mean, I
especially
would say
for the
this person
Kickstarter panels.
this person can draw way better than I ever could. I have no I can't say anything to this person's art. Like I can't be like, well, if you saw my art, then you'd know that you should hire me for this. Not at all.
At the same
better than me,
time,
but-
I don't read a lot of comics in general, and I know and this is being billed as the sequel to this game. I know nothing about the game.
Also, why didn't they just make another game? Why are they making?
Because the first game was bad, apparently.
Oh,
No, because of the dadgum last game that came out that we're all trying to ignore.
oh,
That this is based on.
New Gundam Breaker was so
is
bad.
this the one that we
Like,
played, Dallas? The FPS team Overwatch like one?
No,
Oh,
no, that was a different game. Which, by the way, they just shut down.
Shame.
It was. But this guy, he has. Oh, he also did Detective Pikachu. I forgot about that. He did the comic book version of that. But there's a style that Legendary likes to have with their stuff, and he's in their wheelhouse as a whole.
I mean, that's cool.
And so it's kind of a stylistic choice. And even I'm looking at some of the stuff that he did with Judge Dredd, and then I go like, yeah, this is. It's like it works great with Judge Dredd, the way that his stories have always been told.
Also, this cover
it's a choice.
looks very Final Fantasy box art to me.
I don't think it's done. I think they still got.
I
stuff they
know.
gotta
I'm
do.
just saying that's what it looks like.
In fact, I think let's see here.
You know what game they...
Art is not final, so this isn't even like this is what you're seeing is probably rough. Rough
And
production.
I get that, but I just have a feeling, not knowing anything about this particular universe, it's not worth my money.
And I looked
For
at
me.
the artist, like you said, he had done Pacific Rim Blackout, and I looked at the pages of that. They look, I mean, it's the same art style, but I don't see it like dramatically changing in like how it looks
Yeah,
from this.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
So based on seeing that,
You know what game they need to re-release for Gundam?
What's that?
Dynasty Warriors Gundam.
Yes,
yeah,
100%. You are
2000%, guys.
Francisco.
Right
You
there
don't
with you.
understand.
You don't
do-
understand.
Francisco. All right, so
This was a game I
In
wish I had.
2000
This was the game that first Dynasty Warriors game that I nearly bought.
Oh wow.
in 2000,
If I wasn't more into Gundam at the time, I probably would have.
Yeah, in 2009, my sister took me down to GameStop to buy Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2 for my birthday. It was her birthday gift to me.
Aw.
I have plugged in. I don't have a way to play my PlayStation 2 anymore for some reason. It won't work on my TV. But I plugged well over 1,500 hours into that game. I love this game so much. And it was just Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, whoops.
It is so much fun. Dynasty Warriors is a great engine to begin with.
Yeah.
But then when you include the Gundams, when you include like the stories that it's making, it's great.
And
like
it's a
that
great
right there, that's
crossover of all the Gundams. So,
oh my gosh.
from
Like
that
right there,
time.
you have in that picture, you have Gundam from the original Gundam, so it's, RX-79, versus Psycho Gundam, which was from Gundam Zeta, which was a big ordeal. In fact, I know that fight. That's a terrible fight. It's a pain in the butt. But it's one of those things.
One. It looks horrible. It looks like that'd be a pain in the butt fight to do, as big as he is.
But Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2, the pacing was good. It kept you involved. There were missions where you had to like take out 2,000 enemies, and it took. I mean, you were in it for
It's
a hot
rewarding
minute.
when you pull that
Oh
off.
yeah,
I've played a lot of Hyrule Warriors, which is the same, basically
So
the
good.
same idea, but with Legend of Zelda, and it is tons of fun just randomly taking out 1,000 Octoroks or whatever. And I'm sure it'd be the same here with all these Zaku.
yeah, absolutely.
cool.
I mean, the mechanics were good. Everything worked fantastic with the game. There were bonuses. There were ways to do certain combos that were easy to do, and you could transfer over like the same control set to another mobile suit very easily. But it obviously did different things. Like it was everything I want in a fighting game that is open world like this. Like it's just so great. If they built this again, I'd be excited. Now a lot of Gundam fans are like, we need Bandai to do Armor Core because I haven't played Armor Core 6. I played Armor Core 2 back in the 90s or in the early 2000s. But from what I'm hearing, they're like, man, this is great. And so I'm intrigued to find out what Armor Core is like later. You there, Francisco?
Okay, yeah. The internet skipped. I'm like, what's going on? No. Let's see. Hey, Neko. I think great conversation, guys. Great culture box conversation. Any ending points on that, Gundam or otherwise, guys, that you want to make sure people know about?
No, I think that's about it.
Cool.
Again, it's interesting. All right. Well, let's wrap it up then. Francisco, where can people find you?
You can find me at retrorewindpodcast.com. Me and my friend Paul review movies and games that are 15 or more years ago. We have over 200 episodes of those types of reviews. We also are currently in the middle of doing a sort of a audio drama meta narrative. Our conceit on the show is that we're in this time travel ship traveling through the space timeline continuum. Yeah, for some reason that sounded weird in my head. So time, space, time. That's right. And so we're flying through there, and our ship got destroyed, and now we're having to figure things out with another ship. So those are in our ship's log. So if you want to follow along, go to retrorewindpodcast.com.
Yes, that was an interesting time as we went back and saved the whales.
Yeah, we're not saving whales, but we did review Star Trek 4, which will be coming out tomorrow if you're listening to this live. But that's where you can find us at retrorewindpodcast.com.
Very cool. And Drew?
You can find me at the cellcast.podbean.com, where we have the Cellcast podcast, where we review animated movies and television shows. Also, if you go right there right now, you can actually see a bunch of our old TAS segments that I'm re-releasing. That's animated series segments for Star Trek Lower Decks. On Labor Day weekend, we are going to be releasing our episode on reviewing the Star Trek Strange New Worlds Lower Decks crossover episode, Those Old Scientists. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, pretty much that's what I got.
Very cool. I dig
Oh,
it.
and
I'm Dallas Geek Devotion.
I wanted to say, as I talk over Dallas, because I'm apparently more important. Sorry, Dallas. That Drew and Jacob. It should have been your stream though I messed it up. Drew and Jacob actually, along with a gal named Mary Howell, joined us for the Star Trek 4 episode coming out. So thank you again, Drew, for being a part of that.
Yes, it was fun looking for the nuclear vessels.
Oh my gosh, Dallas, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me at geekdevotions.com, where you find our weekly Friday show where we take geek culture and let people know they're loved. Or you can find all of our podcasts there. We do a podcast called Gundam Watch, Com Talk. We do one called The Bottom Shelf. We do We Read Allegedly. There might be another one coming. I don't know anymore. It's just things are happening all the time. But that being said, if you want to check out Culture Box as a whole, check out culturebox.media, where you can find our other partners in crime, such as Playing Games with Strangers, Stunning and Brave, and the Untold podcast. And currently, if you go to the website, on the front page, there is a link for you guys to check out the best of 2023, July 2023, which is our kind of the highlights of what's coming out of all of our shows.
Exactly.
For the last month.
And in August,
do we want to go ahead and talk about the new group, Kids on the Block?
About to just say that.
Fair enough.
Not on the site yet, but officially part of Culture Box is our newest addition to the group is the network is the Rushmore Show, which you can check out on YouTube. They cover Your Best Four and nothing more, though there's a little bit more because they go to other things. But anyway,
you do a 5, but yes.
Francisco's fixing the ratio.
But
it's all Francisco's world, and we're just living in it.
Was it the Truman Show, guys?
Francisco world.
Anyway, so yes, you find us all there. Did we miss? So Geek Devotions, Cellcast, Stand Brave, Retro Rewind Podcast, Playing Games with Strangers, Rushmore Show. Is it 6? I feel like I'm missing one. Am I?
According to the website, it's Cellcast, Geek Devotions, Playing Games with Strangers, Retro Rewind Podcast, Stunning and Brave, Untold Podcast, and then
Rushmore Show, which isn't on the website.
Rushmore Show.
7.
Okay, 7. Okay, there we go. I knew
I don't know what you left off earlier, but
right.
Actually,
Anyway.
I think it might have been Stunning and Brave, but I think they'll understand.
Yes.
Oh, I know what it was. It was Drew's. I was gonna make a really clever joke
If
about.
it was Untangled
that
Kingdom
game
Hearts, that may never return.
Yeah, I was gonna make a real clever joke about that, but I just lost.
Because I just do not have the wherewithal to get back to it. I'd love to, but I just don't have the patience.
I understand that.
All right, guys. Well, I think we're done here. So check us all out at culturebox.media. And until next time,
Media.
Okay, wait. It's and like a Pokemon, we'll
Catch you in the next frame.